Hey friend, if you've had a long day, this story might be just what you need. Give it a few minutes, it might change the way your day ends. It was one of those late spring afternoons when the sky can't quite decide between sun and rain. The clouds had gathered without warning, and within minutes, a soft drizzle fell over the quiet streets of the small town. Mark sat behind the wheel of his city bus, tapping gently on the steering wheel as he waited at a red light. He had just a few more stops to go before the end of his shift. Tired, a bit grumpy, and hungry. He wasn't in the mood for anything out of the ordinary. That's when he saw her. An elderly woman stood by the bus shelter holding a thin plastic grocery bag that looked dangerously close to tearing. Her coat was soaked through, and the small umbrella in her hand had turned itself inside out against the breeze. She wasn't at a designated stop, just standing there, alone. Mark hesitated. He wasn't supposed to stop outside of scheduled points, but something in her posture, something about how small she looked in that big, gray afternoon, tugged at him. He pulled over. The doors hissed open. "Need a ride somewhere, ma'am?" he asked. The woman looked up, surprised, but then smiled softly. "I was hoping someone kind would stop." She climbed on slowly, her knees stiff, her hands trembling just slightly as she found a seat near the front. Mark waited until she settled before pulling back onto the road. They didn't speak much, but Mark kept glancing at her in the mirror, noticing her gentle smile as she looked out the window, watching the rain trail down the glass. After a few minutes, she spoke. "My husband used to drive this route many years ago," she said almost to herself. "He'd always tell me stories about the people he met, said driving a bus was the best way to learn about humanity." Mark didn't know what to say, but he smiled. "Sounds like a good man." "He was," she replied. "He passed 5 years ago. I still take this route sometimes, just to feel close." The words sat heavy in the warm air of the bus. The rain outside tapped rhythmically against the windows. When they arrived at her stop, one Mark knew well, on the quieter side of town, he offered to walk her with his umbrella. "No need," she said, stepping down slowly. "You already made my day." She took a few careful steps through the puddles, then paused, turned back, and waved. "Thank you for noticing," she said simply. Mark sat for a moment longer, watching her fade into the soft rain. It wasn't much, just a small gesture, but something about it made him feel lighter. That night, he didn't feel so tired. The next morning, Mark came to work early. He had stopped by a flower shop on his way and asked the owner to deliver a small bouquet to a woman on Oak Street, with a note that simply read, "Someone remembered, and someone still cares." Because kindness doesn't need grand gestures. Sometimes it's just pulling over in the rain,